Volha, as a Belarusian poet, translator, linguist, writing in Belarusian and a very beautiful language, which is a small language concerned the speakers and readers of Belarusian literature, which is probably in a country of 10 million Belarusians, 2 to 2.5 million Belarusian speaker. Am I kind of like correct about that assumption?
I know. I mean, no, it's hard to evaluate because I think most of the population can talk and speak and understand. The question is if they use the language in everyday life, like 100%, you know, but yeah, this is the title, language of the nation. So yeah, I mean, it's considered to be a small language because of the unfavorable conditions which the language has in the country. Yeah, but I mean, in numbers, there are some countries which have far more fewer speakers. Yeah, but they are also considered to be like small languages and small literatures.
Not that I want to kind of like prey on the small literature part or small language part, because literature is always as great as it is by the impact it has on its readers. But there's a difference to become a world famous poet like you became. You cannot only rely on the poems written by yourself in your own language. Translation is a big part of that. How does your poetry travel through translation?
I want to hope that its travel is quite safe and light and pleasant. So far, I have been translated into 15 languages or so, and for me, it always has been such a great honor if somebody decided to translate my poetry into their own language. And I think in most of the cases, I always tried to be there and was happy to be there, and suggested or offered translators my help if they needed, and was happy then to read the results if I could. Yeah, or at least just to look how it looks, if it was the language which I don't understand at all or or speak at all.
You speak a lot of languages yourself. Amongst those languages are German, English, Japanese, and many others. Japanese, as being a linguist, is still a reach.
Yeah, I want to interrupt you a little bit and say that to speak a language is one thing, and to translate from the language is another. And that's why I would say that I speak Japanese or Chinese. I mean, these are my, so to say, languages for pleasure. Especially Japanese, which I use when I want to translate Japanese poetry. Yeah, but I'm not an active speaker, so to say. But I can translate. Maybe we talk about it later then.
I think we can kind of like delve right into your desire to translate the poems of Kobayashi Isa, which you selected for translation into Belarusian, and which you are now preparing also for a German audience since you immigrated, and also started to write in German very successfully. So essays, poems. And now you also work as a translator of this book, which you previously translated into Belarusian. What attracted you to the poetry of Kobayashi Isa, and what were the traits of and interesting problems of translating him?
Thank you for mentioning this book, and I have maybe one and the last copy of. Yeah, it's here. It's very nice book, not because I did it, but because it's really so, and it has also we included the pictures from the Edo period artists, so the period during which Kobayashi Isa lived. And for me, his poetry is maybe why I cherish it so much is because of his empathy to little creatures. And this is so beautiful and so heart and soul touching. When you read a haiku about a louse or about a little fly, how she wraps her little what do you call it in English? Ants, horse. Yeah. That's for me. It's just like out of space. And although, I mean, if you read the biography of Kobayashi Isa, you will see how unlucky actually he was in his life, and what hard life he had. Really, like not a lucky person, but still, I mean, he didn't turn into this grumpy, pathetic poet, you know. But managed to keep up this lightness and sympathy to others who are maybe also not lucky in this life, and maybe because of this, he really felt this relationships to those who were deprived of I don't know, beautiful lucky lot, and that's why it made him or it made possible for him to tell us about the sufferings, but also the beauty of the life of little creatures.
So as a poet, you got attracted to Isa because of this closeness to your own poetics, as being interested in the beauty of little and small things. What brought you?
Okay, because I'm not sure what was the first, you know, was maybe it wasn't me more or less hidden or somewhere there, but after meeting Isa, I understood really, or rediscovered undiscovered, I mean, opened up it in myself as well, and decided that it's actually a great thing to talk about in poetry.
So reading and translating Isa also spiked something in your own work as a poet?
Yeah, definitely.
What were the biggest problems in translating Isa's haikus into Belarusian, and what are the biggest problems now to translate them from Belarusian into German, and Belarusian and Japanese into German?
Yeah. So first question, difficulties in when I was preparing this book, I decided to keep up to the format, which is kind of typical for haikus in the translations into, let's say, West European languages or East European languages, and I mean this 5-7-5 syllabus structure. But now, for example, I'm thinking, and that's why this is the answer to the question. I mean, when you have to cramp into this pattern, sometimes, longer words, and Belarusian language is a very melodic language. So in most of the words, you can meet like consonant vowel, consonant vowel, consonant vowel structure. So a lot of vowels, lots of syllables. And that was problematic sometimes. But now with time, I think that I don't want to stick anymore to this structure. And this is, yeah, more or less new tendency, which is also followed by others, translators into English, into Russian. And I think it also gives far more freedom, and gives more, yeah, this beauty. I mean, you don't feel so constrained by this 575 structure form. Yeah, and
I know
then
that
now, I mean, because I'm not a native speaker of German, I need a helping hand, which you, Matthias, kindly agreed to give, and I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, we'll see, because how it will go on. I should also maybe mention one thing about this book. It's not just the haikus, but also there are commentaries. Sometimes you can see that, yeah, definitely it doesn't look like haiku, and it's not. It's a commentary to the haiku. Because the other problem maybe was these cultural things, typical for either for Japan, for their nature, for their culture, or for the time when Issa lived. And that's why I decided to make those commentaries. And sure, you don't have to read them, but if you want to deepen up your knowledge, and in some cases, it's even maybe can change the meaning of the haiku for you. And I don't know if it's interesting, I can give an example. I don't
please,
know how much time we have.
please, we have.
Yeah. So this is the haiku about the lipstick and the snow. And I will read it in Belarusian. Maybe somebody will watch us who knows Belarusian. Spodок с помадой. Сыплется, сыплется снег. Червень на донце. In English, in rough translation, that would be something as also with a lipstick, but I use the word pomade, which is more like ointment here. I mean, but the word pomade in Belarusian is like lipstick. I mean, like, or it has a broader meaning in Belarusian than in English, let's say. Yeah. Then the snow is falling down. The red thing on the bottom. And here then this long text which I wrote is the explanation about the differences of the lipsticks and how it looked, because in Edo period, beni, so this is the name for the lipstick in Japanese, it was not like a stick lipstick. It was like a pomade in a saucer, and when it's and it's dry, I mean, it's just like and it has, if it's a good quality one, it has greenish color when it's dry. So when the snow falls, or when, I mean, if you wanted to put it on your lips, you have to use the finger or some little brush, and then with the water to do and then it will become red, and depending on the amount of wetness or water, it will also have different tones. And sure, I mean, for me it was important also to explain this thing, not because like only to show, oh, we had different types of lipsticks during that time, but also because of the image which you have when you read it. Yeah, because if you think about European, I mean, nowadays lipsticks, it's already red. I mean, and if snow falls on it, nothing actually changes, nothing happens. But if you think about that old fashioned lipstick in a saucer, which is originally or looks like green, and then when the snow falls or snowflake, it turns red, and it's wow. I mean, it's a new image. It's a completely different picture, which you can imagine in your head.
This is a brilliant illustration for how a cultural background and research informs your translational practice. Do you think that we need the same kind of like research and knowledge and knowledgeability to understand poetry in general? So should we kind of like learn more about the subject matters of what is said to us into language?
What we are reading.
Yeah.
I think it depends. It depends on a person, because, and the beauty of the poetry, if it's strong poem, good poem, will vibrate to you no matter what. But it has to vibrate to you. I mean, because different poetry resonates to different people. And one and the same poem can resonate to different people on different registers. And for somebody who likes details and all those, intercultural or cultural things, it would be super important to read, what hides behind this, I don't know, metaphor or whatever trope we're talking about. But for others, it's not like that. I mean, they just read, and I don't know, maybe they like the sound, maybe they have, or they picture their own scenes in their heads, and that's enough. And for them, it's also quite okay. So I really think for you as a reader, it's up to you. But if you teach poetry or if you translate poetry, then I think that would be nice of you to read or to dig up into the biography of the author, possibilities, or no, better say, why or when this poem appeared, what were the consequences for that. But again, it's also not always possible. So.
Do you have a hope as a translator and as a poet to change people's life through the work you are doing? And what is it?
Hope is a complicated thing. Hope for me is a little bit problematic, because it's, on the one hand, we have hope, on the other side, we have fear. So that's why I wouldn't say hope. I think I just do what I can do. I do what I like to do, and I'm happy to share. And if somebody finds it beautiful, if somebody finds it useful, and then come up to me and says, Volha, it changed my life, I'm super happy. But, I don't want to think too much of myself or what I do, just because, that would be too much of arrogance.
In one of your recent books, many of your works, as I mentioned, have been translated. Recently, a lot of them have been translated into German. And I was really honored to also help to translate some of your works into the German language. One was the collection Trapezherz, which just came out with Droschel, which is a very beautiful book of your poems. And you helped me tremendously working with me on the originals, and then helping me finding really good solutions for the German poems. Another one will come out very soon, which is a novel, and your second novel. And this novel actually smuggles in a Belarusian word into the German literary context, because its title It's titled, can you remind us, Samota, which means loneliness. The whole title is Samota oder die Einsamkeit über den Flur.
Wohnte im Zimmer gegenüber.
Yeah.
Also lived in the room next, loneliness next door, maybe in English. Very compact language. So
yeah, Samota, loneliness next door. Yeah,
something like this.
The loneliness lived next door, or loneliness next door. But this is a wonderful act to have Samota as a Belarusian word pop up in international contexts. Is this migration of words? Is that also something interesting for you as a linguist, as a translator, and as a poet?
Yeah, I think very much. I have another example. In my earlier poem, I have German word Straße, which I use like счастье раздавали на некой там Straße. So happiness was handed over on some Straße. Yeah. The street. The thing is, like, I mean, the word Straße is not an active word in Belarusian language, although we do have lots of Germanisms in Belarusian. But just because I think of certain historical context, lots of Belarusian know a couple of more German words because of the Second World War, and the word Straße belongs to this types of words. So I mean, everybody understands in Belarusian but I mean, you also feel that it's a strange word. I mean, at the same time, but yeah, you're right. I like it because maybe as a linguist, I try also this place and dragging. And there is another poem which I built on using the languages which I learned or tried to learn, and took the original phrases from those manuals. Yeah, like agat va à la gare, elle a mal à la tête, which is a real phrase from the book. So Agat goes to the railway station. She has a headache. Yeah, and that actually was I think of maybe a debate for us with you when we were translating or working on that poem, and we were thinking what to do in the German text with the German lines, which I have in Belarusian. Yeah, Paul ist faul und Peter ist fleißig. And so you decided to leave it as it is. Yeah, I'm still thinking about it.
I should have translated this, or we should have translated it back into Belarusian to have Belarusian lines in there. Maybe, but I was just so much in love with the actual meaning of this. Paul ist faul und Peter ist fleißig, because it is it's nearly the structure of a children's poem in itself, and it is so cool, you know, and it brings back and reminds, I think, all of your German readers to how we learned how to read, because these are the kind of like phrases which were in our textbooks when we started reading.
Yeah, that's right. And again, I mean, according to how the audience reacts during the readings this year, it reacts very well. So that's why thank you very much for doing this work. And I mean, you said a couple of points that's not true. You made the whole book, so, and you have to accept it and take the responsibility. Thank you very much.
I take the responsibility gladly, because I was able to translate together with you and your help and your keen eye, very, very beautiful poems into German. And that is always a pleasure, because me as a translator, I always look for work which will enrich the language I am working in. So, and your work is definitely enriching German on a fantastic level. You are now starting, and you started to write in German. So this is translation on a second level. Now you are becoming a German poet. You won a huge prize for your first essay you wrote in German, a wonderful essay on the defense of poetry in times of constant exile. And what is this kind of like translation process of the poet as changing from a Belarusian poet into a German poet, metaphorically?
First of all, maybe it's more correct to say German speaking.
Yes.
German
writing
yeah,
and German speaking.
Yeah. Secondly, yeah, I think it's a little bit sure. I mean, but from now on, I think maybe it's not really up to date to write a Belarusian poet, an English poet, I don't know, an Iranian poet. So maybe it's you can be just a poet, and then you just indicate place where you were born, or place where you live. Maybe it gives us more freedom again, and not so much. Yeah, those attributes which sometimes can be dangerous. But answering your question about how it is, it's super exciting for me as a linguist, because as if I'm making now an experiment on myself, and at the same time I can observe what's happening in my brain. Sure, it's more introspection, so I don't put some electrode to my mind and record it, no. Which, by the way, could be also a funny and interesting idea to do. But as from introspection, I could say that you really feel physically sometimes these processes in your head, how different the languages are and how differently they work. And so it's amazing to observe that. But sometimes it can be irritating. This language switching and this decision making. Okay, so what language do I write now or today or for this poem, or it can happen you can start writing in one language and then it stops and I can't anymore, so I translate this part into another language, see how it works there, and then I continue maybe in this other language and then translate it back. So it's never really, such a strict one-way process. It's really like intermingling and like very busy traffic street with maybe more than two. Sometimes there are collisions and accidents. Yeah, not easy decisions. When I understand that, for example, this metaphor will not work in German, although it would work in Belarusian, but I'm writing now in German, you have to give it up and come up with something else. So such things also can happen.
So language and a poem can be likened to a code. You also have a poem about a code, and it reminds me of a very famous Slovenian poem by Kosovel, The Little Code, where, this little code is like the sign of identity in a sense as well. But you are kind of like also bringing to mind that a poem in general can kind of like have that function, and it is not necessarily only refined to it's the original language it was written in. Translation is offering this to everyone in the world, in a sense. And that might be really up to your aesthetics of offering your poems and offering poems and translations, which you did, to make them accessible to readers, to kind of like really feel secure, more curious, and more connected with the world. Would that be a nice statement to make on your own way of translating and writing, or is it too much?
Yeah, No, I think that's fine. And yeah, I mean, I'm totally agree. I totally agree with what you've said, that translation enriches your own language. It's definitely sure. That's why I also think this is so important to translate into Belarusian. Yeah, because this is the language of my first language of creation, or writing mother tongue. Yeah, and I also translated your poems into Belarusian, and it also was very interesting collaboration. And again, because some of your poems or lines or spots in the poems were language related. It was also, I mean, it's always a task or yeah, like this in mathematics, yeah. This how do you say it in English? Rätsel, which you have to lösen.
Okay, so
Like
yeah, well,
equation, or I don't know, or
yeah, the
like
equation,
a problem. In English, it's a
yeah,
problem. I mean, it's a quite
like a
broad.
math problem.
Yes, and for example, when I translated one of your poems, and there was an interesting word with which I had to deal, and it's Zwischengedicht. And then I asked you if maybe there is an allusion to another German word which actually exists, because Zwischengedicht as a word doesn't exist. I suppose you made it up. And which maybe you could translate as, so our audience understands, as poem in the middle, or the middle-ish poem. But there is a real word which sounds like Zwischengericht. And yeah, this is this smaller dish that is served between two main courses in a large menu.
Thank you.